Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining in today's webinar. It looks like people are still rolling in. We have around 22 people in the webinar right now. We're going to wait a couple more minutes to let everyone start rolling in before we get started with everything. But I'm interested to know right now, where is everyone tuning in from? Type in chat where you guys are coming in from right now. I'm in Vancouver. Oh, India. Oh, Raj is here today as well. Algeria, Edmonton. Nice. Looks like people from all over the place. Raj, what time is it in India right now? 10:30 p.m. Nice. So, a great way to end the day. I guess everyone in India right now is in their beds looking at the webinar right now. We're going to be sharing a ton of great content today, so you'll learn all about how to successfully immigrate to Canada and also about express entry in depth. Algeria is 6:01 p.m. Did you have dinner already? After this meeting. From Argentina. I was close to Argentina just a few days ago. I was actually in Brazil. I was visiting my wife's family there for a couple of weeks. I can tell you, for all of you planning on coming to Canada right now, the airport process is going to be quite an annoyance. Flights are going to be delayed quite a bit. It looks like the airport staff are still learning to kind of deal with all the changes. Because so many of the changes are happening on a daily basis. So flights from Brazil only opened up quite recently. So on our way back, things were quite hectic in Toronto, but we were successfully able to come back to Vancouver. But looking forward to having everyone come join us in Canada pretty soon. Australia as well, Mexico. So many people from all over the place. That's really nice. It looks like a couple of minutes has passed. I'm gonna give it one more minute before we get started. Oh, Philippines and Pakistan. Yeah, if you have any questions, start typing them into the chat, and we're going to be marking them as questions. So when we get to the Q&A session at the very end, we're gonna be able to pull it back up and start answering them. Yeah, but if you do have any questions, you can start writing them right now, or you can wait until you watch the webinar a little bit, because if it is about express entry, Lee might be going over and answering your questions as well. So it's 10:03 a.m. here in Vancouver, so I'm going to get started with the webinar now. So today's webinar, as you all probably know, we've prepared a ton of content. The topics we're going to be going over today is what exactly express entry is, and what, FSW, Federal Skilled Worker, CEC, Canadian Experience Class, Federal Skilled Trades is, how to actually increase your CRS points, how much it actually costs to immigrate to Canada through express entry, and also taking a look at the difference between express entry and provincial nominee programs. We're also going to be doing a Q&A session at the very end, and it looks like Umar, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, is using the question already. So he's already written a question. Eva has marked it as a question, so we will be coming back to it at the very end. At the end of the webinar, we are also going to be handing out some incredible resources for you to be able to actually use inside of your immigration application. So when you're submitting an application, you'll be able to use things like cover letters, as well as letters of explanation. And we're going to be providing you with templates for those. And if you ever come across problems with your immigration application, something you'll be requesting from the government is your GCMS notes, which is basically the notes that the government has on your file. We're also going to be providing you with a sample of that, so that when you receive it, you'll be able to know exactly what it means and where to look as well. So throughout this webinar, feel free to interact with other attendees, chat with everyone, enter your questions, and we're going to be recording all of it and answering them at the Q&A. Stick around till the very, very end, and you're really not going to regret it. Before we get started, I want to introduce myself a little bit. My name's Kevin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of ImmiSearch. ImmiSearch is an online platform that makes immigration safe and simple for you. We actually increase your immigration approval rates by connecting you with the perfect immigration consultant who speaks your language and also specializes in your application type. On ImmiSearch, you'll be able to search, browse, and book the perfect consultant, knowing that everyone is guaranteed to be authorized by the Government of Canada to represent you. On ImmiSearch, you'll actually be able to narrow down your search of immigration consultants by your province of destination, application types, languages that they speak, their years of experience, reviews, and more. You can actually find Li, our guest speaker of the day, on ImmiSearch. Li is a regulated Canadian immigration consultant who is authorized by the Government of Canada to represent immigrants and provide immigration services. She actually specializes in express entry, provincial nominee programs, family sponsorship, and also working with students. So without further ado, I want to welcome Li to the stage.
Hello, everyone. My name is Li, last name is Cao. So the correct pronunciation is Cao. Myself is an immigrant. I came to Canada 20 years ago as a student. I finished my degree in mathematics and statistics in Canada. And after I graduated, I worked for the government for many years. I also worked for a software company for many years as well. Then in 2018, I got my license as a regulated immigration consultant. And then since then, I've been helping a lot of people from many countries to study to Canada or to work in Canada or immigrant to Canada.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction. And before we actually dive into the first topic of the day, I am really curious to know what stage in the immigration process everyone is in right now. I'm actually going to be sharing a poll on the software. And let me know if you're actually just thinking about immigration right now, if you're getting started already, or if you're already going through the process. And you'll actually be able to see all the answers everyone else is putting in as well. So you'll be able to get an idea of where everyone else is in the situation. Looks like we're getting some answers coming in, 22 people answering. Some people just thinking about it, getting started soon and going through the process. So it looks like there's an equal split. Today's webinar is going to be helpful for all of you because we are going to be sharing all the information about Express Entry as well. And even those of you that are going through the process right now, I'm sure you have some questions that are popping up. This is a great opportunity for you to be able to ask some questions as well. So the first topic that we are going to be covering today is what exactly Express Entry is and what immigration programs it is for, such as Federal Skilled Worker, Canadian Experience Class, and Federal Skilled Trades. Li, would you mind teaching the audience about Express Entry?
Yeah, sure. Express Entry, by looking at the name, you probably can tell it should be faster compared to other immigration programs. So Express Entry has three type of categories. You can see from the screen. One is Federal Skilled Worker, and second one is Canadian Experience Class, and third one is Federal Skilled Trade. So we can talk about the differences between them in the next slide. So remember, if you want to be qualified under Federal Skilled Worker, there's 6 factors you have to consider, and you have to pass 67 points in order to qualify as Federal Skilled Worker. So you can tell from the screen the total points for this is 100 divided by language has 28 points, and education has 25, work experience has 15, age has 12, arranged employment has 10, and adaptability has 10. So talk about language. Language has 26. Everyone knows Canada has 2 official languages. One is French, the other one is English. You could use French as your first language or English as your first language. But remember, in order to count as a points for the first official language, it has to be CLB 7, and the second one has to be CLB 5. So for education, the total points for education is 25. So if you already have a degree, as a bachelor degree, you could get 21 points. And work experience divided by the many years of work experience, but you do need required minimum 1 year in past 10 years. And age, of course, age 18, between age 18 to age 35 is the maximum points. The 1 year older you get and your points get decreased. If you are 47 plus, you don't have any points for this one. Okay. And arranged employment, it's the job offer from Canada, from Canadian employer in Canada. It gives you extra 10 points. It usually involves an LIMA. And adaptabilities, here it means you can have few ways to get points from here if you have relatives in Canada, or if you passed yourself or your spouse studied in Canada, or you worked in Canada, or even you have employment in Canada. You can have that extra points up to 10 points. So we go to next one. So the ideal federal skilled worker candidate, if you're under age 30, have 2 bachelor degree or master degree, you either demonstrate your English level or French level is in level CLB 8 or higher, and at least 3 years of skilled work experience. Let's look at this case, Thomas. Thomas, he's age 35, he's married, he's from Spain, he has a master degree, he worked 8 years in United Kingdom, he's very good at English. Do you think he's qualified under federal skilled worker? So remember, federal skilled worker, we have 67 points, passing points. So now let's calculate his points for this, for his scenario, for his case. So his age is 35. We know that age between 18 to 35, we got 8 points, 12 points. His marriage status doesn't give him points at this stage. So we ignore that. The country where he's from doesn't matter. He has a master degree. Master degree gave him 23 points. He worked 8 years. Any work experience more than 6 years plus is the maximum points, which is 15 points. He's good in English. Let's assume his English is CLB 8. CLB 8 is give you 20 points. So the total we add them up together, he could earn 70 points. Look at his case. He doesn't have a job offer from Canadian employer, and he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have education from Canada. He doesn't have work experience in Canada. But he's young. He has a good education. His English is good, and he has many years of work experience. So those are candidates that we are looking for if you are overseas. So high educated, young, have many years work experience, and very fluent in English or French. These people have very high chance to get qualified under federal skilled worker. And look at another case, Chloe. She's single, she's 30 years old, she's from Vietnam, she has a bachelor degree, she worked 8 years, and she is good in English. Let's think about, is she qualified under federal skilled work? Compared to Thomas, she doesn't have a education as high as Thomas. She only has bachelor degree, but she works many years too, and she's good in English. So by looking at this, I probably come up to my mind. She should be okay. She should be has very close points to Thomas. And so let's do a calculation for her. And for the age, she gets 12 points because she's aging between 18 to 35. She gets 12 points here. She's single. We don't count points for the marriage status. And the country, we don't count points for the country. So bachelor degree. Bachelor degree, she has bachelor degree. It should be give her 21 points. And she worked 8 years. 8 years is 15 points. And a good English, let's assume CLB 8, that's 20 points too. I'm just assuming she's doing CLB 8, which is IELTS 7, give her 20 points. Then she only have 68 points. So if I reduce her English level to CLB 7, she won't have 67 points then. So you can see the difference between her and Thomas. English, for here, English is quite important because it could make her disqualified from federal scale work if she lower English level. So next, we see the 3 categories. One is federal scale worker, and the second one you probably noticed that's Canadian experience class. So Canadian experience class by the name, which means that you have Canadian work experience. So work experience, you can be combined 3 ways, okay? But you have to have minimum 1 year in Canada before the time you apply for your application it has to be in last 3 years. You can have 3 ways to meet this work experience. You can first one, you can have full-time job. Full-time job in Canadian standard means 30 hours per week for continuous 12 months. That's a full-time job, 30 hours a week. Okay, as long as you have 1,560 hours, that will consider as full-time 1-year job. Or you can look at the second option, you can have different part-time jobs, but you work 15 hours as a not cashier, 15 hours as a store manager, or then you work another 15 hours, same level in different company. Then you can add them together in past 3 years, as long as you can add them up to 1,560 hours. You can be combined as 1-year work experience. And of course, you have third choice. You can have 1 full-time job, and then besides of that, you can have other part-time jobs. But make sure, the key point is in past 3 years, and you add all these hours together, it has to be 1,560 hours. And remember, I made a mistake when I say work. I said cashier, but cashier is not considered, okay? Because there's job code for that. Job code has to be O, A, or B. By O, A, or B, B level, A level, B level is kind of professional level or management level. So cashier doesn't consider as management level. So it should be a store manager or supervisor or company assistant level plus. So and also there's a minimum English requirement for the job code. So if you want to apply on the O or A jobs, it has to be CLB 7, which is IELTS 6. So, and B, for the B jobs, the minimum requirement for that is CLB 5. That is IELTS 4. So for the last category is Federal Skill Trade Program. It For this one, it also has minimum requirement for English. No, I shouldn't say English, for the language. So it should be CLB 5 for speaking and listening, CLB 4 for reading and writing. Okay. The requirement for the work experience is you have to have at least 2 years full-time paid work experience in past 5 years before you apply. So unpaid work or volunteer work does not consider. And also you have to meet the job requirements that for the skilled trade set out for the national occupation classifications. I will show you what type of jobs in the next slide. Or you can have, or you either have a job of a full-time minimum 1 year from the employer, or you have qualifications for the certificate that is issued by Canadian government. So next slide is going to tell you that the categories fall under this federal skilled trade. So there's a group 72, industrials, electronical, construction trades. They are in group 72. They are qualified for skilled trade. And 73, maintenance and equipment operation trades. 82, supervisors and technical jobs in natural resources, agriculture, and related production, also qualified. 92, processing, manufacturing, utility, supervisors, and central control operators, also qualified. And 632, chefs and cooks, 633, butchers and bakers, also qualified under federal skilled trade. So we have seen a lot of people actually come here as chef, cooks, butchers, bakers, quite very often from this category. Okay. But remember, the minimum language skill and the many years of your work experience in past many years. So we can talk about how to increase your CRS points. CRS is a comprehensive ranking system points. So remember, we talk about 3 categories. Once in everyone, doesn't matter which category you are going to fall under. Once you're in the pool, everyone will have a CRS score. CRS score, the total score is 1,200 points. So everyone will get a CIS score. So how we can increase the CIS score then? CIS score, if you want to increase CIS score, we have to look at what is CIS score calculated under. Basically, we all know that by age, by education, by work experience, by if you have studied in Canada, if you have worked in Canada, if your spouse worked in Canada, if your spouse studied in Canada, or if you have any relatives in Canada. So all those different factors. So how we can increase the CIS points? I listed some ways. I personally gave you suggestion on those 6 different ways. I always tell my client the first one is absolutely helpful one is retake the IELTS if English is your first language consider as for immigration. Okay, retake it. If you think there's a room to increase your points, absolutely go ahead and do it, because you will see it will make a big difference. And a work experience. If you don't have enough work experience, you can wait once you have enough work experience, and then you can start your application. So third one is spousal points. Spousal points, a little bit tricky. As your spouse can increase your points and you could decrease your points. We will look at that later. Of course, job offer helps. If you have a job offer from Canadian employer, it absolutely helps. Provincial nomination. We all know that provincial nomination give you 600 points, and it will help. Study in Canada. So if you want to get another education or get in Canada, you can come to study in Canada. That give you extra points too. Okay, let's look into the details for how they're going to increase your points for these 6 ways. So retake IELTS. Why I keep telling all my clients retake IELTS? Look at this example. If you have good English, IELTS test CLB 9, which is IELTS, I believe around 8. You know, if at the same time you have post-secondary education, you can get additional 50 points for CIS. And if you have CLB 9 and at least 3 years of work experience, and you can get 50 points. In terms of the CLB level and convert to IELTS, there's a chart in www.canada.ca. You can convert them exactly what is IELTS requirement for CLB 9. So okay, so there's it has different numbers. You have to look into that to convert into the correct one. Work experience. So if you don't have enough work experience, consider come to Canada as a student or temporary worker first. Then in this way you can get a education credit, and at the same time you have a higher chance to explore yourself. Maybe you can meet your potential employers, because if you come to Canada first, you start to know the Canadian culture, you start to know people, you have networking here. Spousal points. Spousal points, as I mentioned before, your spouse can increase your points and also might decrease your points. It really depends, okay? So for the first scenario, if your spouse has English, has language test, and your spouse has the education credential done, and for any post-secondary education, then your spouse can increase your express entry points. Or a second case could be if you leave your spouse as a non-accompanied family member for now. Once you get immigrant to Canada, and you can sponsor them later. In this way, you come here as a single applicant once your PR granted, and then you can sponsor your spouse as family sponsorship. Okay. And there's a third case, could be your spouse could be a stronger candidate. So if your spouse has a higher education than you, your spouse speak better language than you, and your spouse is younger than you, it could be your spouse is a stronger candidate. So job offer. So if you have an eligible job offer from Canadian employer, it could get you up to between 50 points to 200 additional points. So usually it has, for 50 points, is LMA involved, okay? If you don't have a job at the moment, I always keep telling my clients, look for the Canadian Job Bank, LinkedIn, Indeed, and any other social networking site. Try to connect to the Canadian employers in your field. Talk to the people, talk to the employers in Canada, see if they are open to hiring from your field. Send them resume, introduce yourself, and tell them if there is a position, if you're interested in applying, tell them that you have a qualification. If there's a chance, you can get an interview. But at the same time, you have to tell them you are overseas at this moment. Provincial nomination. Provincial nomination gives you 600 additional points if you receive any provincial nominee from any province, okay? And but remember, provincial nomination, this is a separate application done through the provincial website. The last one, study in Canada. Study in Canada. If you already have a bachelor, a post-secondary degree, which in the CRS points, it will give you 120 points. So if you come to here in Canada to do 1 year post-secondary certificate, it could give you additional 8 points from the CRS points. Okay. And so also if you already have COB9 and 2 years of Canadian work experience, you could get additional 50 points. That's a total of 58 points. 58 points for CIS point, it is quite a lot. It's a big jump. So education can increase your points. In this scenario, we have lots of clients already have a bachelor degree from overseas, and they usually take a 1 year or 2 year post-secondary degree, a diploma or certificate in Canada, and just boost up their points for the education part. So for the immigration tips that I give you is that always, once you figure out you are qualified under Express Entry, you should always create your profile. So only if you create your profile and you have a chance to get invitation. If you don't have a profile, you never get invited, okay? And plus, creating a profile in Express Entry, it is free. There's no fee involved until you get an ITA and submit your application. So we're looking about the cost, total cost for the Express Entry if you're interested in the Express Entry. So usually, before the Express Entry, we all know that you have to have a language test. So language test, average about that is about $300. And also you have, if your education is done not inside of Canada, you have to get a credential assessment. That's about $200. You only need to get your highest education credential assessment. You don't have to assessment all the education. Biometric fees $85, but you don't need to pay that until you get an ITA. Government fees, same thing. You only pay that when you get an ITA, okay? It's the time when you submit your application, there's a fee involved. And same thing for the medical fees is $450 adult and for $250 for child. And police clearance, it varies from country to country. Average so far, you're looking about $100. People come to me, ask me, which one is better, PNP or Express Entry? So I have to tell my clients, it's not about better. It's not apple to apple comparison. PNP is another program. Express Entry is a different program. So for the people who are already eligible for Express Entry and they have a very high points in the pool, they should just go with Express Entry because they have a high chance to get an invitation soon. They even don't need to look for a PNP option. Okay, for the people who are eligible for Express Entry but they don't have enough points in the pool, yes, PNP might be an option to look at it. It could, because PNP could give you 600 points. If you got a PNP, then you can add 600 points back to the pool, which make you eligible for next draw. And also for the people who are not eligible for Express Entry, PNP is another option to look at, because if you are not eligible for Express Entry, you might able to look for paper PNP, get a nomination, but then that will be a different route. It won't go through Express Entry. So PNP offer PNP, we have many provincial nominations from different province, and each province has different criteria to select from and different requirements. And if you're really interested in that, you have to look for the details from each province website. So here's I listed a list of the a price for the different provincial nomination program. So you can see some provincial nomination is free, some are not. It depends on which province you want to check it out. Okay. And the funds, I have to mention the funds is that we have to make sure that when you apply for express entry, there's a settlement funds. Settlement funds are not the fees that you need to pay for to the Canadian government. It is just the money that you need to show Canadian government that you have enough money to settle down once you come to Canada. So settlement funds is listed based on the members of your family. Let's say if you have family of 4, 2 adults, 2 children, you need a minimum of $24,083 for the family for the family to settle. You need to show Immigration Canada you have this amount in the account. But this is funds are accepted for the Canadian experience class, or if you have a valid job offer from arranged employment offer from Canada. Okay, so there's an exception. It depends on which category you belong to. And always check on the website. Keep updated with the exact funds because they change often.
Awesome. I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing all this amazing information, Li. To all the audience here right now, I know that we went over a lot of information. It's a lot to remember, but don't worry. We are going to be sending everyone here a recording of the webinar, so you'll be receiving that through email. Just to do a quick recap of what we've gone over, we spoke briefly about what Express Entry is, FSW, CEC, and FST. They all have different minimum requirements to be able to be eligible. And we spoke about ways to increase your CRS points after you join the Express Entry pool. We also spoke about how much it costs to be able to immigrate, as well as the difference between Express Entry and PNP, in what circumstances you'd be looking at PNP, and the fact that PNP can be helpful towards giving you extra points for your Express Entry profile, or there's another route where you go through the paper route. We're going to be moving on to the Q&A session shortly. I hope that each and every one of you here today has learned a lot and you've enjoyed the content that we've prepared for you today. I'm curious to know right now, though, do you plan on actually hiring a consultant or actually preparing your own immigration application? I'm going to be sharing a poll again. You'll be able to see the results as well. Let's kind of take a look at if everyone's interested in doing it themselves or actually hiring somebody, getting aid to be able to submit their immigration application to the government. So answers are rolling in. We're seeing 9 people, 10 people, 11, 12 coming in. Looks pretty 50-50 for now. Very interesting. Very similar to how we started off, where everyone was in the different stages of the immigration process. It looks like everyone's pretty equally split on looking for consultants or doing it themselves. For both of you, in different looking for consultants or doing it yourself. So I'm hoping that the information today has been helpful to you. Moving on to the next slide. We know that immigration can be confusing for many of you. That's probably why you are looking for hiring an immigration consultant to increase your chances of successfully making an application the first try. There are actually over 80 different immigration programs when you're moving to Canada, and you could be eligible for, one and not the other. We can really help you in finding the perfect program and helping you submit that application in that program. So taking a look today, Li has been gracious enough to offer you a $25 off from her 30-minute initial consultation. So the regular price that she usually has is $75, which is a very great price, but she's actually lowering it to $50. So that's over 30% off of our regular rates. So I just wanted to say, Lee, thank you so much for doing this. And I'm sure that this is going to be really helpful to the people that mentioned that they'd like to speak to a consultant, that they'd like to hire a consultant. Remember, everybody, that this offer is only going to be valid for the next 48 hours. So when you go to her profile, when you're booking with her, use the code 25OFF and book a time on her calendar. You'll see a pop-up on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen that's going to take you directly to her booking page. All you need to do is click it, and it'll take you to Lee's profile. We're also going to be sharing some downloadable content now. You'll be able to use these directly on your immigration applications. There's the templates that I mentioned, such as the cover letter templates, letters of explanation, and even the sample of the GCMS notes. You're going to be needing to kind of assess what the GCMS note means if you plan on submitting an ATIP request to the government. So while that's going on, while everyone's downloading the templates, going to Lee's profile to book, I did want to ask everyone as well, how much you enjoyed the webinar today. We'd love to know how you felt about the webinar, things that we can do better as well. So please vote right now in the poll that we're going to be sharing, and let us know how likely you would be to recommend this webinar to somebody else that you know. Oh, thanks so much, guys. We did prepare a lot for this. We put in a lot of effort into this. So it's great to see that for many of you, it was a helpful webinar. So now we know that many of you are here today for the Q&A session as well. I see that there's been a ton of questions. So let's jump straight into the questions. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and you'll see both of our faces. So let's get started with the questions. So the first question we have today is, does a bachelor's degree eligible for express entry?
Does bachelor degree eligible for express entry? There's no yes or no answer. It really, as I said, you have to, if yourself is qualified under express entry, you have to pass that 67 points. So it's not just about your degree. It's a combination of your 6 factors. Okay. Send me your resume, then I can look into it. If you pass 67 points, then you are qualified under federal skilled worker.
Awesome. The second question we have now is, I have done my WES. I got my bachelor's degree 3 years and postgrad diploma of 1 year. So can this be considered as 2 or more certificates under express entry?
Have you done WES for both of them? So it has to be, if you have done your bachelor degree, this one, if we consider as Canadian bachelor degree equal to Canadian bachelor degree, then it is yes. And also if your postgrad diploma and you already done this one for WES and consider as a 1 year diploma as a equal to Canadian diploma, then should be as considered too. Yep. Right?
Yes. So hopefully that answered your question. If you do have any further questions, please do feel free to reach out to Lee and she'll be able to help you as well personally. So we have our next question. I'm looking to immigrate my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. My husband got his permanent residency last year. Would the family visa only apply to my mother-in-law? My sister-in-law would need to come via express entry.
So your husband got his PR. If you want to apply your mother-in-law, it would be, she won't come with your husband. She should be come with a separate application. Your husband can sponsor him later as parent sponsorship, okay? And your sister-in-law, via express entry, it really depends on which category your sister-in-law will be qualified under. As we mentioned, Canada has more than 80 immigration programs. It has to be assessed in order to tell which category your sister-in-law is qualified. But she will come on her own, separate. and your husband can sponsor your mother, your mother,
His
mother-in-law.
mother. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, his mother.
For sure. Next question. For choosing immigration consultants through ImmiSearch, do I choose the one who speaks my language or from the province that I'm interested in? So I'll answer this question. When you're considering hiring an immigration consultant, there's a lot of different factors that you do need to take into consideration. I would say the number one thing to actually look at instead of just language or the province is if they are specialized in the program that you're looking into. So for example, if you're interested in express entry, I would book something with Li because Li specializes in express entry. Why I say this is, as I mentioned before, there's about 80 different programs in Canada to immigrate under. And there's so many programs that immigration consultants and immigration lawyers, they don't actually specialize in every program that's available. So it's really important to find somebody that actually has experience conducting applications for the program that you'll be immigrating under. And that way, when problems do arise, they'll know exactly what to do. They'll be fast and they'll increase your chances and be able to make sure you get it as fast as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. Moving on to the next question. Is a 1 year postgraduate work permit too short when wanting to apply for permanent residency in Canada?
It's hard to say. You could get your PR before your postgraduate expires. It really depends on your at the time when you submit your application and where exactly when you submit your application. But don't worry, if you submit your application, PR application, and your work permit expires, you can apply for it's called Bridge Open Work Permit. So no worry at all if you already submit your PR application and your postgraduate work permit is going to expire soon. So you have another chance to get extended work permit on the open bridge work permit. So no worries, okay?
All right, we have a question from Raj. I have my ECA for a 4 year degree in India, 2.5 years international skilled work experience. Going to do a 1 year postgraduate diploma in Toronto this winter. So if I'm going to apply for express entry right after graduation, which program or strategy would you suggest given my IELTS bands are high?
Okay, so if you have IELTS high, and you should after you finish your diploma from Toronto, you should be qualified under federal skilled worker. Okay, because you have many years of work experience and you have your degree, you should be already qualified. Then you can do a calculation how many CRS points you have at that time. So if you are lucky and Immigration Canada still you invite people on the federal skilled worker class, then you should be good to go.
Mm-hmm. And this is partly the reason why it's so important to pay attention to what are the CRS point scores that the government is actually drawing. Unfortunately, right now, under federal skilled worker, they haven't drawn anyone for over a year right now. However, in 1 year after you actually finish your program in Toronto, I'm quite hopeful that they'll actually start federal skilled worker relatively soon. I'm seeing signs that it may be starting, but we'll have to see what the government does. We aren't able to know exactly the decisions the government will make. We'll need to assess your situation 1 year from now and take a look at what is the historical draws that are happening to be able to give you any sort of indication on what would be the better option to take.
Yeah, but they will draw. They will draw. It just
In 1 year, for sure.
Yeah, they haven't done so because of the pandemic. Yes.
Exactly. We have another question from Manu. Would you need to take a language test even if you studied in Canada at a DLI?
Yes. Everyone who's interested in immigration program, yes.
Next question. Oop. Do you help in child caregiver visa programs, and please let me know the cost of hiring a consultant apart from the immigration application fee.
I do have on the list program, but this will be a different topic compared to today's topic. If you're interested in this category, and you can book me for consultation, we talk from there, okay?
Question from Vivian. What if your CRS score is already considered reasonable enough to earn an express entry, yet you still decided to pursue further studies in Canada? Would it be okay to submit an express entry profile and be included in the pool while you're studying in Canada? Or will this disrupt your current status as a student in Canada? Thank you.
Absolutely, yes. You can study in Canada at the same time you submit your express entry. There's no conflict at all, okay?
Perfect. Next question from Ali. I have a question. I have an express entry federal skilled worker profile. I have 5 years of experience as a private teacher, so I'm not employed in a school. How can I prove it? Is it counted as 5 years of experience or not?
Well, any work experience that you have done, you have to show proofs. You either get an employment letter from your previous employer, or your pay stubs that show that you have been paid for this position, and from the past. You have to show the evidence.
Exactly. So we'll need to prove whether you're an employee. It may be considered that you were self-employed if you were a private teacher working for yourself, actually. So need to take a deeper look into your profile to actually give you a definitive answer.
Exactly.
Next question. We have one from Tina. My question was skipped. When I want to
Sorry.
when I want to submit my express entry application, it asks for the date and number of the certificate of ECA for my bachelor degree. I was told I can submit it without this and add it later. How can I go about it?
I mean, when you create your express entry profile, actually you should have your ECA done, your language done. We recommend it because otherwise you can't go further. But language done is for sure because you cannot change your language skills later. Okay, but there's a trick for the ECA. When some clients submitted their ECA but they haven't received the ECA number yet, you can just put a number put any number for now. You can just keep continuing. Once you receive that, you can just update it. Okay. But not for language, only for ECA. Language, you cannot change that because then language you change that, you definitely change your points. But ECA doesn't change your points.
Question from Tina. I'm in Canada applying for express entry. I'm pregnant and my baby will be born here. Does this affect my express entry application?
And it doesn't affect your express entry, but once your baby is born, you should update Immigration Canada that you have a new family member coming and provide the evidence that your baby is existing and the details of that. Birth certificate or any you need to update Immigration Canada, but it doesn't affect your application. Okay.
Perfect. Just letting everybody know, we have quite a bit more questions to go through. We're not going to be taking any more questions than the ones that have been submitted already, just to make sure we can finish on time. If you do have any further questions, I really do recommend taking advantage of the consultation that Li is giving. And the promo code and all the links are on the bottom left hand of the corner. So please click on it, book a time with Li. Asking one question is very different from getting a personalized session, taking a deep look into your profile. So next question from Krishna. I want to know about OINP, which is the Ontario Nominee Program. I did my degree in BC and have a job offer in Ontario. Job is NI, not sure what that means. Eva, was there another question that was added to this? If not, no problem. Krishna, I don't think I can answer this question right now, but please do reach out to Li. Maybe she can provide a little bit more insight. Next one from Manu. when you talk about BC PNP, could you talk briefly about the BC PNP Tech program as well?
Yeah, sure. If you're interested in the details, you probably should book a personal consultation with me. It's not we cannot finish in 1 word or 2.
Yeah, and especially with BC PNP, I think just the one thing that you need to be aware of is that you are going to need employment, an employment offer. So that is something, but it is deeper than that. So really recommend booking something with Lee to talk more about BC PNP Tech. Same thing with you, Yel. Would really love to be able to answer this question, but it is a deeper topic. So we'll need to book a time with you. All right. From Ruchita. Hi, I'm a community support worker aged 24. I have a bachelor's and master's degree along with a year of work experience. I'll be starting my 2nd year of employment soon and will also be giving my English exam soon. Would my employment be qualified under the occupation list to apply? Thank you for the wonderful session. Definitely need to take a look at the knock code for this. I have shared the knock code searching tool on the chat before. You'll need to check because as a consultant, you can't memorize all the codes for everything. So do you have an answer? You don't have an answer for this one directly right now, right, Lee?
I have to check the NOC code. So basically, for any job that you performed in the past, if you want to be qualified under Express Entry, make sure they are under O, A, or B. Okay, as long as you are falling under those 3 categories, you are safe.
So I think that does answer your question then. And then the next one is from Charmaine. If I've lived in Singapore in the last 10 years, prior to that was living in Australia between 19 to 22, is this subject to PCC for Singapore only or due for both Singapore and Australia?
What is PCC?
I think it's a police clearance check that Charmaine is.
Ah, okay. So yeah, then you have to do both actually. Any country you lived for more than 6 months, you should have a police certificate check.
So the next question, would one include their past work experience while they were on a sabbatical, 2 months of unpaid leave?
Which one included? I don't understand this question.
So I think this question is saying if he was employed for, let's say, a year, and then for 2 months he took time off from work, would he include that as part of work experience?
Well, it depends which category you're falling off. So if you're falling under CEC, then that's okay because CEC, it can be uncontinued work experience. You can combine them. But if you're talking about if that's the only experience, 1 year experience you had as federal skilled worker, then no, you can't be any gap in between. Okay. Or if you have, as long as you have minimum 1 year in past 10 years, it should be okay. It really depends on do you have more experience than that, or that's the only experience you had?
Next question from Armando. If I already have a bachelor's, but I want to study certificate, diploma, or a technology, will that affect me when applying for a study permit?
If you want to study a certificate or diploma, you should apply for a study permit. It doesn't it helps you if you have an education from your home country and you continue your education in Canada. I think it's a good thing.
From Vivian, if your job is considered to be self-employed or a business owner, for example, business in a food retail, and you work as a general manager for your own company, is it considered to be working experience? Or do you really have to be a regular working employee who belong in either NOC OAV to qualify?
Yeah, it does consider as work experience, but your business is not in Canada, right? So if your business is in Canada, that's a different story. But if your business is overseas, you could make yourself as an employee of that company. You can come here as a skilled immigrant, for sure, yes.
All right, from Michael, just a question. Can we register our express entry and apply for FSW and PNP at the same time without any issue from inside Canada while studying for our MBA at a DLI?
Yeah, you can do both. But usually it depends on which PNP you're applying. Some PNP require express entry profile first, some don't. So you will have to tell me which provincial nominee you're talking about exactly, okay?
All right. From Ashley, what's the difference between an immigration consultant versus an immigration lawyer in terms of how they can help with immigration?
I got this question a lot. So, and there's not much difference between immigration lawyer and immigration consultant. Immigration lawyer and immigration consultant both practice immigration law. But if your case go up to federal, then there's a difference. Like yeah, an immigration lawyer can go up to federal court. Okay. Other than that, by regular immigration cases, they are same, but immigration lawyer also practice different laws, but immigration consultant only practice immigration law. So we are only specialized in immigration law, not other laws.
Mm-hmm. Perfect answer. I've also shared a link to a blog post that we've written about the all the details of the difference between immigration consultants and immigration lawyers. You can take a look at it too. Next question we have is from Krishna. What if your CRS score is already considered reasonable enough to earn express entry, yet you still decide to pursue further studies in Canada? Would it be okay to submit an express entry profile and be included in the pool while you're on your study visa? I think we already answered this question is yes, you can. It will not disrupt your current status. Next question from Armando. Where could I see an estimate on prices for consultants on ImmiSearch? So to answer that question, all consultants have different rates depending on their level of expertise and everything else that's considered as part of their business. So you can think of it as almost like an Airbnb where all the different places have different prices. So there is no average price. It's really on you to take a look at the consultants and kind of take a look at their hourly rates and to be able to understand what their fees are. But if you do want to reach out to me personally, I can help you find a consultant that meets your profile. So I did share my email on the chat before, kevin@immisearch.ca. Reach out to me personally and I can help you find somebody as well. Question from Ali. Would someone be rejected even after receiving an ITA?
Oh
Great
yeah,
question.
absolutely. So if you receive an ITA, it doesn't mean that you get your application get approved. Okay, ITA is just invite you to apply. So once you after you get an ITA, then you submit your actual application. So once you submit your application, that's the time they actually look into your case. So they have to make sure the time when you submit your application is exactly same as you got an ITA or higher. So in this way, by the time you got an ITA, means that you're still eligible for this program. So this is very important.
I know we're over time already, Lee. Do you need to hop off? I think we have about 5 or 6 more questions left. Would you like
That's
to?
okay. We can finish them. Yeah.
Perfect. So next question from Chino. How many points for a post-secondary certificate?
Is that done? Did you get a West done? So post-secondary is that how many years is that? It depends.
Yeah. So for this, Chino, you'll need to reach out to Lee again. It depends on what your post-secondary certificate is. So we'll move on to the next question. You can reach out to Lee directly. I meet the FSW, but when I fill a profile, it comes out as not eligible. I am confused. I did my ECA with Wes for my master and bachelor. I have my French test, TESAF, Canada, CLB7, and all the other details. But not at the same company. So basically, I think the question is about the express entry profile. It's saying they're not eligible.
Mm-hmm. You have to, for less detailed personal questions, can you send me a resume and I can check on that and maybe answer your question in details then? Because I can't just answer your question by looking at this.
Yeah. So this will require a bit of an assessment from Lee's
So
side.
you
So
might be yeah, you could, in this case, you might have made a mistake in your application form, or you actually might not eligible for the program. Yeah.
Exactly. We'll move on to the next question from Ali. Sorry, but I have another question. How to know our CLB? My grades are in Ielts, etc. I actually sent a link.
The link, yeah.
Mhm.
Remember, I mentioned in the webinar that CLB has converting to IELTS for speaking. You can, I actually have it here. IELTS, right? IELTS speaking is 7.5. That's CLB 10. Listening 8. CLB 9. Writing is 7. Is CLB 9. And reading was 9, and writing 7, it was 9 too.
So CLB
So yeah,
9, very high score.
remember, just go to the website, search CLB convert to IELTS. So you will be read the CLB level.
Perfect. Next question from Raj. If I get a half-year part-time skilled work experience in Canada, can I add that to my international skilled experience of 2.5 years for FSW to make it 3? Just wanted to make sure that there's any way I can go to make full use of that while studying.
So the total years that you calculated, if you are qualified under federal skilled worker, it actually calculated by up to month. So if you combine them, it's more than 3 years. It should be. So let's say if you have 2.5 and the other one is 0, is 6 months more, then it should be combined. It should be able to combine in the from the system. System has its calculation for this. Yes. But this is only for federal skilled worker. You are not qualified for CEC.
So Krishna is asking about the NOC code for cybersecurity specialists. I have also put in the link to find your NOC code.
Yeah.
So
Just we have to do a search for this NOC code, okay? I can't just tell you by looking at it. We have to do a research too.
Mm-hmm. So I think we have one last question from Tina. When I want to submit my express entry application, it asks for the date and the number of the certificate of ECA for my bachelor's degree. I was told that I can submit it without this. Oh, this was answered before. It was just a question we didn't mark as answered. So that's all the questions that we have for today. I know everyone here, you probably have more questions that you want to ask. I can see them coming in. However, we are out of time today, and I want to be respectful of Lee's time. I just wanted to say, Lee, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. To everyone that's here on the webinar, remember that Lee's offer is only available for the next 48 hours, so really do go forward and book now. You've seen how much experience she has, how much of an understanding she has in express entry as well. So just wanted to say one last time, thank you, Lee, and all the audience for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. I'll be turning off the webinar now. Looking forward to hearing back from everybody. You can email me, email Lee, reach out to her, and we'll be able to help you out. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are.
Bye.